Ottomans build an empire and really how the Muslim world can spread throughout parts of the world that are not Muslim. Because we know that Islam began where? Where did it begin? Right? Mecca, yeah, on the Arabian Peninsula, in south present-day Saudi Arabia. But we know that there are Muslim cities all over the world. We talked about Jerusalem, and we talked about Cordoba, and Cairo, and Damascus. So how did it expand there? And that's where the Ottomans come in, and they begin to build an empire. Okay? So the Ottomans established an empire that combined many different cultures and lasted more than 600 years. That's longer than America's been around. Now, some other empires that existed at the same time were empires like the Byzantine. Where were the Byzantines located? Do you guys remember? It was what's left over after Rome collapsed. Where was it located? What present-day country can you think of? Well, when Rome collapsed, Constantine moved the capital city of the Roman Empire to where? Turkey, in a city he called Constantinople. And if you look at this map, this red rectangle, this is the present-day country of Turkey. Constantinople is kind of located on this isthmus, this little area of land that is surrounded by water on two sides. Okay, and then obviously the boot here is Italy. The Arabian Peninsula is not far from here. It kind of would be down to just south of where Turkey is. All right. So the Byzantine Empire was in a great decline, a great amount of decline, right around the time of Muhammad and then the years following Muhammad. And so it was constantly being raided, Constantinople, by the people who were kind of nomadic surrounding that area. They were called the Turks. Turks, okay? That's where we get Turkey from. So these raiders called themselves Ghazis. 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 And basically all a Ghazi is a warrior who fights for Islam. A warrior for Islam is a Ghazi. Okay? So the most successful Ghazi was a man named Osman. Osman. This is Osman. Okay? He was the most successful of the Ghazis. And followers of Osman called him Atman. Atman. And that's where it kind of changes its name into Ottoman. So the Ottoman Empire gets its name from Osman. Are you following me? I know it's not the same. It's just kind of one of those things with language. It gets changed over time. So followers of Osman are called Ottomans. Followers of Osman are called Ottomans because it's just how a language evolves over time. Okay? Osman built a Muslim state, a country called Anatolia. Anatolia. And that Muslim state was located in present-day Turkey. Okay, so it kind of, I'm not going to say replaces, but is alongside what the remnants of the Byzantines. Are you following me? Okay, so as the Ottomans conquered, they would sometimes they would put in rulers that ruled in the name of Osman in the places they conquered, and occasionally they'd go to places and things would improve for the people there. Occasionally would not. It just depended upon the scenario and the people. All right, so. Now, obviously, this is just one place in Asia and Europe. Turkey's kind of a weird place because it's half in Europe and half in Asia. It's one of those middle-of-the-road areas. So, but obviously the Ottomans don't just stay in Anatolia. They continue to spread outward. and their empire moved westward. And by the year 1451, the Sultan Mahmed, it's gotta say it with some phlegm, Mahmed II, he was in power in 1451, and he led a daring attack on the very well fortified city of Constantinople. So this is kind of an artist's rendition of what they believe Constantinople would have looked like in the ancient world. And you can see it was very well fortified. It had, you had to approach it from the sea on three sides of it, or land on one. So it was easy to fortify. But Mahmed, he had a new piece of technology that would allow him to cause severe damage to the city. Mr. Moore? Yes, ma'am. Elizabeth, I need to see an office. He had something that was devastating, and it was these cannons. Now, you can't really get a good idea just of how big this cannon is, but this, like an 8-year-old could walk through this. It's enormous. Okay, it would shoot cannonballs that were like 1,200 pounds. It's like shooting a Volkswagen. Okay, enormous cannonballs, because they had this advantage of this new invention that actually came from China, called gunpowder. And they would just put these massive boulders into these enormous cannons, and they would fire them. And it was, imagine a Volkswagen that's made of stone traveling at the speed of a bullet. It's going to cause extreme damage and extreme devastation to anything it hits. So this cannon's 26 feet long. The cannon itself is extremely heavy and difficult to move, but when they're mounted to ships, it didn't really matter how heavy they were because they were floating in water. All right, and so if you look at Constantinople, the majority of the city is surrounded by water, so they could surround the city with these large, massive cannons. And just imagine if you have just 10 ships loading constantly these cannons, shooting at your city. It's going to cause a lot of devastation. And Mahmed II knew that. And that's how he was able to attack Constantinople and ultimately conquer it. And he conquers the city of Constantinople. It took about 7 weeks of bombardment from the sea, and then eventually they snuck in. But finally the city fell. One thing about Mahmed II, he was not ruthless. He allowed the people that were remaining in Constantinople to live, even if they had a different religion. Even much of them were Christian, but he allowed them to live, and he even helped them rebuild it. But he said it's not going to be called Constantinople anymore. We're going to call it Istanbul, and that's the present day name of the capital city of Turkey, Istanbul. All right. You ever heard of Istanbul? Renamed that by Mahmed II. Okay, so the Ottoman Empire continued to grow. Look at that cool hat. Don't you wish you had a hat like that? The Ottoman Empire continued to grow until it reached its peak size under the leadership of this man, Suleiman the Lawgiver. Don't you want to have a cool name like that when you grow up? Emily the Lawgiver. Sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah. Suleiman the Lawgiver. And he ruled the Ottoman Empire from about 1520 to 1566. So close to 5 decades, 46 years he's in charge of the Ottoman Empire. And he was an excellent military leader. very good at controlling people militarily and by motivating his soldiers. And using this military might and military advantages, the Ottomans continued to conquer places like Belgrade, which is a city in Europe. You guys know what country Belgrade is in? Hungary. Hungary. Are you hungry for some turkey? Two countries we've been talking about. Lame. Hungary, Belgrade. Belgrade, Hungary. He also conquered into places like Austria. Yeah, just south of Germany. You guys ever eaten a croissant? You guys know why they're called croissants? Well, all right. Well, he conquered Austria. Okay. Now, Austria is like a German place, so you don't think croissants when you think Austria. What country do you think of when you think croissants? French. All right. So this is how the croissant came about. What shape are they? They're crescent shaped. The crescent moon is a symbol of Islam, the crescent and the star. And so when the Ottomans conquered Austria, they brought these crescent-shaped pastries with them. And then later on, a woman from Austria, whose name was Marie Antoinette, married the King of France. And she brought these crescent-shaped pastries with her to France, croissants. Right, so they're actually not French. They're Muslim. So you can thank the Muslims for conquering Austria and bringing us these delicious buttery pastries for sandwiches at Burger King, right? Okay. Anyway, Suleiman the Lawgiver conquers Belgrade in Hungary, Austria, and then also in parts of North Africa. This is where you would see Egypt and Libya, okay? All right. As he does this, he spreads the Ottoman bureaucracy, the Ottoman social structure. And he's called Suleiman the Lawgiver because he created a law code that bound together the Ottoman Empire everywhere they conquered, not just in Anatolia, but in these new places like Hungary, Austria, North Africa. This new law code did things like limit taxes, reduces the size of government, sound like Republicans, and create laws to govern civil and criminal cases. Normal government stuff, which did not exist in these places prior to the Ottomans bringing them. We have a tough time understanding this because we take for granted that we are a society of laws and law enforcement and peace. Not the majority of the world throughout human history is not known for that. Okay, not known for having a society of laws. Okay. Now, when it came to how the Ottomans created their social structure, it's very much like a pyramid again, with slaves at the bottom, and among these slaves are the conquered people, and they're called devshirme. Devshirme. I know it's a weird word. Devshirme. Yes.
What's the bottom part of the pink circle?
Millets. Heads of religious millets. Like an order. Now, Devshirme, these are Christians who were conquered. So all the people in Constantinople, all the people of Hungary that were Christian and are conquered, they become Devshirme, Christian slaves to the Muslims. Now, if you were a Christian slave, what opportunity do you have for success or advancement if you are a devshirma in the Muslim world, if you are a slave. Well, remember, in Muslim society, it's not based on how much money you have, it's based upon what? Your religious beliefs. Very good. So if you are a Christian and a slave in the Muslim world, where are you at in the social ladder? You're about as low as you can get, all right? But in order for these people who have lived their entire lives in these areas, who've just been conquered, many of them, really in an effort to save themselves, converted to Islam. And since they converted to Islam, they would be given opportunities to prove themselves in battle and win glory. And Christians that converted to Islam and became soldiers are called Janissaries. Janissaries. And it didn't have to be Christian. It could be Jews. It could be any religion that converted to Islam and then became soldiers. They're called Janissaries. And they were highly motivated and usually very skilled warriors because they wanted to move themselves up the social ladder by proving themselves in battle. So a lot of families encourage their sons to do this so that they could have a chance, so that they could have an opportunity to have wealth and a position in society. Okay? So, despite Suleiman's social and cultural achievements, the Ottomans, obviously, they don't last forever, and they began to lose ground. Much like all empires have fallen, the Ottoman is no different. And Suleiman became a very paranoid ruler. You guys know what the word paranoid is? What is paranoid? What's the definition? You're scared? What are you scared of if you're paranoid? You think that everybody is out to get you. You know, everybody's out to get you. And Suleiman, what does he have to lose? What does he have to lose? Well, what is his position? He's the Sultan. He's the absolute ruler. So what does he have to lose? Power. He's the most powerful, one of the most powerful people in the world. Now, traditionally, when something happens to a powerful ruler, like they die, who takes over? Traditionally, their son. They're usually their eldest son. Suleiman became so paranoid that he thought his entire family and all of his sons were plotting against him. So he had his sons killed. He killed his most able son. His son that was his oldest and probably would have been an excellent ruler, he killed him. Another son that he had him exiled because he was kind of competent. But he had one son that was kind of a moron, kind of dull-witted. And he allowed him to inherit the throne when he died. And his name is Selim II. How would you like to be known for this? You make it in the history book because you are incompetent. Well, that's Selim. All right. Now, I want you to imagine we're taking somebody. So he sets the standard. Okay. Selim is going to do the same thing. Of all his children, he's going to kill the best one, exile the next best one, and let the most incompetent one take over. How do you think that's going to work out over several generations when you have a competent leader after incompetent leader after incompetent leader? Yeah, it's not going to work out very good. You have bad leadership, you're going to have a bad empire. And that was one of the things that led to the fall of the Ottomans. Okay? So, and that was kind of set up by Suleiman. Kill all your brothers. You have to kill all your brothers. Any chance that they might try to take power. You know, keep all your sons as prisoners, and when they become of age, you kill the best one, you exile the next one, and depends on how many sons you have too, okay? And so what this does is it just kind of breeds inept rulers and leads to a decline of the Ottoman Empire. Does this make sense? So Ottoman, pretty fascinating empire, the way they rose and the way they fall. Okay, but one thing that they stayed true to was their Muslim roots and their love of Islam. Okay, questions on the Ottoman Empire? Where Osman? I don't think I mentioned Orkan. I'm sorry, I may have skipped him. But there's Orkan. Orkan is Osman's son, and he was a proclaimed sultan, and he was one that continued. He did not, like Osman didn't kill his sons and stuff. This was, he was a good, competent leader. One that began to use the gunpowder, and then Mahmud with the cannons. Okay, so you guys have questions? Okay, good job. And you need, just let me know.